Brought to you by Telehelping, a virtual assistant staffing company for professionals.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cody Hall, and I'm the host of The Faces, Entrepreneurs Are People Too, and the founding CEO of Telehelping, a virtual staffing organization, and the herein sponsor of my podcast. So I appreciate you, Telehelping, for allowing me the awesome opportunity to have people like Otis on the Tribe and Purpose, actually. I got the whole crew here on my podcast this morning. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Doing great. Happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thank you,
Excited
Otis.
to talk, Cody.
Yeah, so I got Otis, dad, Camden, son, gentlemen, the founders of Tribe and Purpose. Fun fact, guys, I'll have the link into the podcast where I was on their podcast many moons ago. And so it seems like I feel like I was a different human then. But gentlemen, usually before I rabbit hole, which I'm a professional at, I'd like to start off by just having the audience know who we're talking with here today. And as I said in our pre-call, we'll let the age and the beauty go first. Camden, we're going to allow Mr. Otis, your father here, to kick off. Tell us a little bit about who he is.
Sure. Well, the short story is I grew up in Texas. I'm an Aggie and a 25-year veteran of the U.S. Army and a retired Green Beret, and business owner and father, grandfather, entrepreneur, inventor, and speaker. So,
Yeah.
and podcast host, co-host. I always forget that.
There you go.
You better calm down. You know whose voice you remind me of, Otis? It's the gentleman off of Roadhouse. You know, the you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Sam Elliott is one of them.
Sam Elliott. That's exactly who it is. You better watch out. He's going to come off. I think you AI stole his voice.
That's
so
he's got a voice active future for sure. We know that.
we have to get on that. We got to get a marketing campaign going. Well, Otis, thank you so much for that. Camden, sir, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I guess you could guess by the fact that I'm his son and he did 25 years in the Army. I always say I'm an Army brat. Grew up mostly Colorado, out here in Tucson, Arizona now with my wife and our daughter, our two dogs. And I just like to say I'm a coach. Yeah, I coach rugby, work with the University of Arizona. I'm also the head coach and president for a local nonprofit that has lots of cool stuff, primarily through rugby for kids, all for free here in the Tucson area. And then I get to do a lot of leadership coaching with the Tribe and Purpose side. So all the coaching things and just looking to help people out and try to make that little bit of an impact.
And one other thing that you always forget, he is the voice of Arizona rugby.
Oh yeah.
So he's actually using his voice.
Oh yeah.
So you do the announcing.
Oh yeah, I do the play-by-play and the color, unless I got someone else up there going with me. But generally speaking, it's just me and talking with the fans for a while. So it's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun too. It's a very different type of experience, I think, but it's a lot of fun.
Listen, I think that's one thing my wife has been trying so hard on. She's been trying to figure out how to monetize me. She's like, we just need to figure out how to get you in like a commercial or something. I'm like, I don't want to be on a commercial. Actually, Otis can understand there as a former recondo. Like, I actually just want to blend in. Like, part of me is difficult being 6'2", white, living in Mexico, right? Well, but
yep,
I stick out. So that's difficult. I'm skylined from the time I walk outside. But up until actually, Joe, you guys met me when I looked like this, but about 2 months after that, when I left my previous company and I sold out, I started growing my hair and my beard, and I looked like the Lost, like I was from the movie. I had a huge beard down here, all the hair down here. You wouldn't have recognized me. Right?
You're like Forrest Gump when he was running, right?
Correct. I looked like Forrest Gump when he was running. I looked like I was lost in Mexico. And so
I was just saying, that's you're going full beach bum in Mexico. That's perfect.
Yeah. Then I woke up one day, I'm like, man, I got to get this together. So I run a company. So I can't. I was even to the point, guys, where I during that time period, I hired out sales gentlemen for my team. So I had like team of sales to do my calls because I couldn't jump on there looking like that. They thought I was the person trying to get lost out of Mexico. Like, hire me, please. So, no, well, it's interesting. You guys are very well rounded, and I have a really great energy, which kind of takes us into the tribe and purpose. Now, when I think of tribe and purpose, and I think of Otis's involvement, are you just like taking a bunch of people to the woods and beating them until they come out men? Like, because that was kind of how like my
I
passage
ask him,
was.
I ask
So,
him that at least, it's been at least 20 times on the podcast. I go, all right, cool. Green Berets are great leaders, but how the hell do you bottle it up? You can't throw people in the woods and make them be great leaders, Dad. Like,
we,
there's a little bit of disconnect there. Yeah.
we call it taking you to the tree line. Is that what's happening here at Tribe and
Well,
Purpose?
figuratively speaking, yes, yes. Sometimes those really I've only had it happen in one-on-one clients, and occasionally those will have one of those calls where it's like, "Hey, dude, quit your whining. Time to buckle it up and move out, man. I mean, all you're doing is bitching and whining about the problem set you're dealing with. Well, that ain't gonna fix it. Start moving." I mean,
As I would expect from your side, that's interesting you say that, Otis, because I think sometimes, I mean, I suffer from well, I can't use that word or we won't be monetized anymore. The get over it syndrome. Like,
Mhm.
I've never been a complainer. And so, my older brother, Otis, he's, many years in the military, overseas experience, and he doesn't really have a tribe a part of. And so he gets this whole poor me oh my mentality all the time, right? Oh, you know, I'm never been the same since Iraq. Like, well, no one has been the same since Iraq. Okay. And so that's the point. But
hell, I ain't
I
been
go
the same since yesterday. I mean, come on.
correct. I'm different from my first cup of coffee this morning,
Yeah.
right? But and I'm interested to understand. I don't know if you ever heard of the group MVP.
Yeah.
So great. When I'm in the United States, I go to MVP and I get to hang out with some pro athletes and some combat vets and stuff. And you're sitting there, and what you just said made me think of this. And this one guy, he came every week. Wife left me, can't see my daughter. I don't have a job. Things aren't going well. And my buddy Matt, he's like, you know what? Week 3, we gotta say something to this guy. Like, when are you gonna do something about it? Like, he's like,
Mhm.
and I think is that the essence of what you guys are providing people? You're providing that, hey, listen, like, let's wake up from this painting you have going for yourself, and let's think about possibilities. Is that what we're doing at the tribe?
Yeah, well, and interestingly enough, that was the theme of my Monday Moments newsletter this week. Was just that is this whole feeling of entitlement. I deserve it, therefore I should
Mhm.
have it. Look at all the great things I've done.
Because
Uh,
getting lost in those negative things is the reverse side of that same feeling of entitlement. It's like, I am entitled to getting out of this. Somebody should come help me. Yeah, exact
yeah.
same kind of thing.
Well, and really, the spoiler alert, if you haven't read this week's edition, uh, it doesn't matter. None of that crap matters. And it also, here's the real spoiler alert for life. It doesn't matter how hard you've worked. You don't deserve anything. You don't deserve it. You can work your ass off your entire life and not get a damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what you
That
can do is control what you do, how you do it, when you do it, and who you do it with. And that's how you get the magical word called fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
Through your purpose. That's what it's all about. It's not about I deserve this. You got to give me that.
yeah.
Look at all these things. Matter of fact, I'll share one of my old bosses. He's been on our show too. General Fuller shot me a note about this newsletter and mentioned that one of his peers retired around the same time as him, and believe it or not, had that attitude when he retired from the Army. That he was just going to get things, people were going to beat down the door to hire him and put him in his company because all the wonderful things that he'd done in the Army. I mean, look at him. He's a general, so you should. And that didn't happen. And
Mm.
the sad side of that is this guy ended up killing himself.
Yeah, which
He
is,
had no purpose, no fulfillment.
you know, That's a real thing. So, I'm a part of and I used to be heavily involved in the Recon Sniper Foundation, right? And we're talking about communities here. We're talking about tribe and purpose, but we're talking about communities, right?
Yeah.
And these guys have created an environment where, like, you get out, like, join a shooting team, join the distance team, or the skydiving group, right? Go out and find a group of people, because we're pack animals, right? One, humans in general, like military guys especially, you're trained, right? And I just the other day, my wife's like, "Do you go surfing this morning?" I'm like, "Well, I went to the beach, but there was no one in the water, so I didn't go surfing." She's like, "Why wouldn't you go in the water?" I was like, "Listen, I'm buddy system." So, like, if I'm gonna die, I'm dying with a friend, right?
Yeah,
And
there's a
so
reason they ain't out there. Oh yeah.
correct. I told my wife it wasn't because I had the only idea to wake up this morning at sunrise and go surfing, right? It's because there's no one's out there for a reason. And I think that's, a really interesting perspective you take, because the entitlement sometimes that we have, that and a lady said this once, and she was the Spanx CEO. She says, "Just because you quit doesn't mean you'll succeed," right? She says that. And that's like the thing that gets a lot of people, like, "If I just don't quit, I'm going to make it." Well, no. So, and what you're saying is you have to find your purpose in that journey, because you may not make it to the top of Everest. So,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, we were having lunch last Thursday and talking with a nice guy up in Denver, and he kind of made this comment of, it's like, people say it takes 2 to 3 years to get the business. So is it going to be 2 or 3? And I don't think he wanted to sit down. I gave him some good advice, but I don't think he liked me at first. I was like, oh, I mean, it depends. It ain't going to be 3. It's probably might be 10. Might be 20, might be never. I don't. And he kind of looked at me like, gosh, I wanted to get excited. I wanted to get fired up about this. It's like, no, you're an entrepreneur, man. Like, you have no way of knowing how long this thing is going to take. It's how much you care about it. If your purpose is tied to it, you'll keep going and things will work out the way that they're supposed to work out. But if you're expecting some sort of timeline, you're always just going to drive yourself crazy. You're just looking for things to happen in the exact timeline, all that kind of stuff. You're just going to go crazy every time.
I just think it's one of those things, like, you know, there's so many people who have various timelines of success, right? I always like to mention, like, the Home Depot was started by a man, in the later parts of life. Like Vera Wang, who I only know by this reference, did her first dress at 40, right? And now she's like, Vera Wang. And then Oprah, right? She got fired from so many jobs before she became Oprah, right? And so the thing is that many people want to do, again, they want to put a timeline on it. Like, what's my time to return on investment? Like, what am I
Yeah.
doing here? Right? Like, I wish I had that answer for everything I did. Like, if I could just try for 6 months, it'll equal this, right? It's not
And
the
that's
case.
truthfully, that's the real secret sauce behind tribe and purpose, and our approach is by understanding your purpose and what you're working towards. With that, is it helps you to be indifferent to that time frame, not in a sense of like, do I need to do this kind of stuff today, but it's like, the work I put in today makes that little bit of a positive impact. That's enough for me. And then if I keep putting in the work, I might make an even bigger impact one day, and that's all cool. But you focus on what you're able to do, what's inside of your control, and keep making that positive impact. We talk about it all the time with our DIY side of our business and putting things out for free to help folks. It's like, look, if that's all we ever do, we fulfilled our purpose. We are helping people to be better leaders. We are helping people. Like, that is a very nice thing. Now, of course, we want to do a whole bunch of other stuff with that, but we're not going to get stressed about the time frame of those kind of things, because when you're tied to your purpose, you're able to kind of fulfill that as you work towards the big exciting thing.
No, I love that. I'm a multiplier. And so, like, if I have, like, I want to do something in 90 days, like, we're in the process of launching this ed tech thing, and it's can't say too much because a lot of trademarks and stuff involved. But essentially I was like, well, when do I want to go live? I wanted 90 days. So really, I'm like, you know what, 6 months, right?
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and double it, right? So that 90 days from now, I'm not stressing about a deadline. I'm not upset that the team's not, working night and day, right, to get it done. So I'm supposed to set a more realistic expectation to achieve it. And so that way, if I get there, I was like, and then at first I was like, I want 6 different pieces to be included, right? And then I'm like, you know what, actually, let's make it 3, right? So let's double the amount of time it's going to take, and let's cut what I want in half, right? Because I'm setting myself up for a realistic outcome that is a success, not what I want it to be, but you have to, like what they say, SMART goals, right? You have to, smart. I talked to so there's a small group of people at telehelping that I coach that are our clients, because sometimes hiring a virtual assistant is just the start to a solution. And I tell them all the time, like, well, I want them to come out of the box fixing the problems. I'm like, well, let's be realistic, right? Like, let's think about how crazy that is. So I have to do the same thing with myself sometimes. I'm sure you have to do it all day with people.
Oh yeah, heal thyself, doctor. Right? I say that.
Coach thyself, coach.
Yeah. Well, and you know what you reminded me of? There's an interesting technique I learned years ago, and I'll use Miss Suzanne's goal, which she hasn't done it in a while, but the old goal of drinking a gallon of water a day. That's a lot of water, right? Especially for somebody who, when she takes a drink, it's a droplet. So for her to drink a gallon of water is a massive goal. And if that's your goal, and I'm not even talking about BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals or stretch goals. I'm just talking about something that's achievable, right? Because, I mean, truthfully, it's not that hard to drink a gallon of water. But if you don't drink that gallon of water, what you're telling yourself in your mind is now you're a failure. You failed that goal. So if you think about that, how many days in a row are you going to continue to have that as your goal if you don't get there? That's tough, because now, well, I didn't get it today, maybe tomorrow. Well, I didn't get it that day, maybe tomorrow. And you get into this, well, I'm just no good. So you just quit. You quit trying. The technique, it's a really interesting one, is you set your goal, but then you have a sub goal. Hey, that's pretty good. I got almost there. And then you even have hey, I tried. Here's a more personal example. So for me, I walk. I want to have a walk 3 times a day. I've got a little loop around the cul-de-sac, 6 minutes. And if I add a little bit of extra, maybe an 8-minute walk. I want to do that at least 3 times a day. Well, I don't get to it every day for various reasons. And does that mean, oh man, I suck? If I go through it and I look at the end of the day and I see how many tick marks next to walk, and I go, man, I suck, because I only did 2 and I was going to do 3. God, I really suck. No, I did 2. That's pretty good. I mean, when you start thinking about things, oh, I did at least 1. At least I got off my ass at least once today. It's yes, I didn't achieve the outcome that I truly wanted, truly said I want to do. However, I still did stuff towards it. And each day it's like that. I mean, you can even throw it in the weight room with bench pressing, right? That's every guy's favorite exercise, bench press, right? Well, I want to do 235, 20 times. Well, if you can only get 18, does that mean you suck?
Right.
No, you gotta look at things realistically. Yes, SMART goals, all that sort of stuff. But you also have to look at the human mind and what it does, where, hey, every day I try to do 20 reps of 235 and I don't get there.
Yeah.
That means I suck.
Yeah, I feel like playing the mental gymnastics game is like such a tricky thing, because you can trick yourself into beating yourself up over things or ignoring problems, all those different ways you can trick yourself. Because talking about water, it's like I do the same kind of thing, but my goal is 2 gallons. Really big secret, because if I shoot for 2 gallons, I hit 1 gallon every single freaking day. And it's like I flipped it like that. But if I start beating myself up over not hitting 2 gallons, now I'm gonna spiral. Now everything's wrong and I'm a failure, all that kind of stuff. But I think the key there that I would add to your point, that is, it's what I always like to call like the Freebird effect, of like you're trying to learn how to play guitar and you hear Freebird, like, I want to do that. And if you compare yourself to Freebird the whole time you're learning, you're going to quit. I know, I quit. I did the exact same thing. I could still play Smoke on the Water.
In the closet here.
Yeah, it's still up in Monument, Colorado somewhere. Yeah, no, but it's like there's this real thing, and so you have to flip your mindset of, yes, I'm working towards this goal, but then am I measuring my success off of that goal, or do you do what you're talking about, Dad, which is measure your success off the actions you took that day? And when you shift the focus like that, you're still working towards that big goal, but you're not going to beat yourself up for not hitting that, for not being able to play Freebird right away.
No, I mean, these are, things that I, what I'm looking at from the perspective of just like, it's more of the mental challenge, right? You're talking about that mental test that you're going through every day of like judging yourself. My wife does it all the time, right? She's like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym twice a day. I was like, Brad, it's a really time consuming, difficult goal, right? I can see you by day 3, you'll probably be really sore, right? Maybe if you go twice a day, twice a week, right? And like you go once a day already, great, right? So why don't you go 2 times in 1 week and then you're great. And it's something that I think I think it's an operator thing, right? I think it's one of those things where when I picked up surfing, like I'm fairly new to it, but you know, a couple months into it, I'm actually decently good. But my first day I went out there, I was like, if I could, like, I know how to drown. I was drowned in the Marine Corps, right? Like, I'm not going to die in the waves. Like, I was born in those things. I was like, my goal today is to paddle out. Like, I'm going to get over this mentality. Like, I'm going to go out there. People are watching. I'm going to get in other people's way who are good at what they do, right? And I'm gonna have not a dang idea what's going on, right? I'm like, all right, I'm just like, if I can just get through the surf, and I went out there. My goal was to sit out there on my board. If I could sit on my board, which by the way is difficult, I'm just gonna sit there. I'm like just waiting for waves that I'll never take. And then I had days where I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go paddle. I'm gonna go out here. I'm gonna paddle because paddle is exhausting. I don't have enough endurance, so I can never catch any waves. And I just slowly but surely was like biting off. Like my goal was to surf like Matt Keckley, right? I'm gonna get out here. I'm gonna cut some waves and be a professional, right? So that's where I'm getting at. But I'm like, I treated it like Otis. I treat it like gunfighting. Like if you do like draws, people like see like competitive shooting. There's like 5 or 6 movements: pulling from the holster, right? It's pulling up close to the body. So I was always just breaking it down piece by piece because I wasn't trying to succeed at surfing. I was just trying to succeed at every little milestone along the way and
Mhm.
building my way up to, I think it was about a month in. I rode a large wave from the time it began all the way to the surf. And I sat there, I'm like, I'm a surfer. Like it's
Sweet.
done. Right now, I go out now, I just need 1 wave per hour. Like I'm not even like, I don't even want to catch every wave. Right. Just 1 wave per hour. And
Mhm.
that's why you just be realistic with yourself. And I think sometimes the untrained mind, the untrained professional sees an idea and they're like, I'm going to take this coffee that I make really well in my kitchen and I'm going to compete with Starbucks. Right. And so they're like, bring it on, baby. And like that. And then they're like a week into this, they're like, oh, wow, someone already owns that brand. Well, I guess I better stop because my idea's foiled. Right. And I think that's what most people do.
Well,
Yeah, I
one of
think. Go
the
ahead.
things I was gonna or I like to break it down in that sense is, we have our vision. So vision is that big thing, right? The big thing we want to achieve over a significant period of time. And then underneath our vision, we have goals, which are milestones or whatever you want to call them, but big chunks of moving things like yours, your surfing vision is that. And then the goals are, today we're going
Not
to ride
die.
a wave, and then we're going to but we're going to take our goals and we're going to break our goals into tasks or objectives. I'm sorry, goals down into objectives, and then objectives into task and task into action steps. So an action step is, well, put my hand in the water and pull. There, I'm learning to paddle. Put my hand in the water and pull. I'm taking action steps to move me to where I can get past the wave break point.
Yeah.
That's maybe an objective that allows, moves you towards getting out and sitting on the surfboard or whatever, however you break it up. But I think the point of that is I'm not saying, don't set this high goal or have this great vision, but if you want to achieve it, you have to take it into pieces. You have to
Mhm.
break it down into quite literally, what the hell are you doing this afternoon that moves you one step closer to it in the future?
Yeah,
That
Yeah.
I can use. I love the example. I got
Beautiful.
this from one of our podcast guests a while back, Dad. Maybe you'll think of who it is from the story. I'm not sure, but the idea of like trying to get back into shape and go into the gym, and they would go and they would say, "All right, well, you're allowed to go to the gym, Cody, for 5 minutes," and they make you go every day of the week for 5 minutes, and then they rip you out of the gym. Go, no, you're done working out. Because what's going to happen if you just go, you're going to work out too much, you're going to get sore, you're going to stop going. The habit never forms. And then week 2, you get to go for 10 minutes. And then week 3, you get to go for 15 minutes. And you kind of up
Yep.
quantity each time. And then all of a sudden, you have this habit. And I think the other thing to keep in mind with it is I think we have that Freebird effect. It's the reason it's such a exciting thing that we all fall into all the time is because we want to do the big thing. We have the big vision, like you said that. But the thing is, it's like we feel like by chunking it down to these smaller things, we are no longer contributing to that big vision. But the reality is everyone who actually does the work knows what you're doing. It's like the people who make fun of you for starting to work out because you're trying to lose weight, they're not the people at the gym. They're the people outside the gym.
Right.
Like it's like the entrepreneurs aren't going to make fun of you for trying to take it slow and bootstrap your company. They know exactly what you're doing. Everyone knows what the process looks like. And we just pay too much attention to the people from outside the process.
No, I think, and that's something that I started messaging one of my Marine buddies, who's a big surfer, right? And he's like, I'm like, man, I'm like, to be honest with you, and you can all speak to this, right? When you're good at stuff and then you start doing stuff you're not good at, you're not just fighting the challenge of the thing you're not good at, you're fighting your ego, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, look, I'm good at stuff, right? And so an example of this, right, would be the surfing, because like I'm good at stuff, right? I can go play tennis right now with college players, right? Great. But surfing, like my goal is just not to die. He's like, dude, don't worry about it. He's like, to the people on the beach, right? And I always reference the quote, the man in the arena, right? And so, like the people on the beach, you're absolutely going to look like an idiot. Like you're like that guy is drowning, and that is me. At least one time I go out there, I'm out there fighting the surf. Or what I say is I'm getting worked, right? And so, but to the guys out there surfing, there's like, okay, they know you're new. You may not know they think you're new, but they know you're new, and they're not going to bother you. Just you don't know the courtesies. Don't violate the rules, right? Don't take their waves and get in their way. And then for the most part, they don't care. But the people on the beach, you're absolutely right. They are the opinionated ones, right? They're the ones who it's like, oh, you're going to fail, or why are you doing this? It's never really the people in the arena with you, the people out there taking the swings themselves.
Oh yeah, it's the cat
I got
call, right?
makes me think of out coaching the little kids at the Engage Foundation because I get a lot of what I call the never evers, like never seen a rugby ball before, all these kind of things, and I'm teaching them out. It's like, okay, what do you want to do? And it's okay, how we need to pass the ball, and what kid picks it up and throws it like a football, and all these kids who have never played rugby before start laughing at him, and I'm like, and because he did it wrong, and they all saw that coach did it different, all this kind of thing, but I'm smiling because I'm like, of course you passed it like that. You're new. Like that is exactly what I would expect an American who's never played rugby before to do. Congratulations, you are on track to be a good rugby player. Like that, everyone has made that mistake before, and yeah, it's the people who don't know anything that always want to make the most fun of it.
No, I like the mentality. And what we're really talking about here as well is like breaking things down, right? Everyone has a great idea. There are a lot of great ideas. The difference between the people who have the ideas and the people who accomplish those goals are, a couple things. One of which is being able to take that goal into actions, right? Objectives. And so, we've created a proprietary process at Telehelping because we have a lot of folks who want a virtual staff member, right? The idea of like, what, I would love to have someone, right, doing all this stuff for me, right? And like, that's great. Let's hire one, right? And that's exactly what we did at first. You come to me for a virtual assistant, I'd give you one, right? Go get it, right? And then I realized, I'm like, wait, these people have no idea what they're doing. So we had to create an entire framework around how do we make your idea of having a virtual assistant into an actual plausible, well operating SOP based role, right? And it takes steps, right? And I think that's what folks, oftentimes between those who think and those who succeed is their ability to process those and then execute, right? My favorite word, the ability to execute on them.
Well, it's the plan, right? I mean, it goes back to creating the plan, and to bring it back around to include purpose in this whole thing. The purpose is the fuel that helps you get through, helps you get to the plan, helps you write the plan, helps you execute the plan, and drives you through the actions and drives you through all the obstacles and overcoming the obstacles. Because that's what your purpose is. Your purpose is the drive that helps you achieve that vision. And I'm sure, man, pardon me. I've got the wall of flu hangover is what a friend of mine said. from Australia. Camden doesn't have that. He's just breathing dust.
Not great at breathing over here. Yeah, that's my fault.
Yeah.
I'm also better on the mute button if you want to play this game, old man.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, you are much quicker than you, but no doubt about that. I moved my mouse too far away. I should figure that out. What the hell was I saying? Damn it!
You were talking about purpose before he took it from you.
Yes, he took my purpose. So, when you think about it, if you are living in your purpose, then everything you do is fulfilling. Even the crap that you don't want to do that sucks, it's still, when you sit down and think about it, that's leading to my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the human nature of who you are and the bigger thing, everything that we do should fall into your purpose in some form or fashion. Even going out and sitting on the beach for 3 hours, or surfing, or going hunting for 2 weeks, or spending 2 weeks in Australia chasing rugby. All those things still fill into my purpose because they help drive me to fulfill my purpose. That's the beauty of having the clarity of your purpose and living in it, so that everything you do, even the suck, even the frustrating mornings, the evenings, whenever that is, that you are living in your purpose and following that and fulfilling it.
Mm-hmm. It's, there's the bricklayers parable, which I've talked about a bunch on our podcast, but the idea of, tying your purpose to your actions and these kind of things. It's like, look, we're not all bricklayers, but we get the same kind of BS. We're all just my wife and I joke about this all the time. We're all just button clickers. You see somebody and they're doing this big fancy thing. You're like, they just clicking buttons. I'm just clicking buttons. That's all most of us are doing nowadays anyway. But it's like, does that suck? Yes. And it's like, but when you tie that crappy email that you hate to send and those kind of things to your purpose, and you take the time to plan out how it actually is related to that, then all of a sudden you have that fuel to kind of keep you going on it. And the other thing I'd add with what you're saying, Dan, because it gets into the life categories piece, I'll throw it back to you, but of like understanding your purpose through your different life categories. Not just the like, hey, my time away hunting helps me to recharge and go do this, but your time hunting also helps to change your strategic perspective and bring new insights into clients. And it's like all of these things kind of feed into each other, and recognizing that helps you to kind of live that purpose every single day, not by going out and, door knocking for the business every single day because that's what moves you forward the most, but because everything you're doing is complementary to that venture.
No. And I think that's oftentimes what people get confused with is, one, is everything pleasant along your journey for your purpose? And no, right? If you like horses, you're probably going to have to shovel shit, right? And so
hey, I got a secret for folks out there. Even if you hate horses, you'll have to shovel shit.
Right. So figuratively or literally, right? And I think that's the thing is, and I look at purpose sometimes is kind of like food, right? Different food has different levels of nutrients, right? We could all have purposes, and some of those purposes could be misplaced, right? I oftentimes mention this in my podcast and in conversations with people. Like, I used to always want $100 million, like arbitrary number, right? I just wanted $100 million. It just sounded good, like $100 million, right? All right. Just like, I was like, that's what my goal was. And I mean, I chased it through my 20s, and then I got my first like exit from a company and where I made decent money. I was like, wow, dude, $100 million is a lot of money. So I was like, I don't think I understood this purpose. And that's the point I'm getting to here is sometimes your purpose can change, right? Sometimes you have to go to your board like, oh, because as you hit those objectives, you have to go to that whiteboard, you have to wrench it out. You know what? Actually, this is probably a better purpose. It's similar to what I'm doing. I'm adjusting my thesis, right, of my purpose, because maybe this is better. And it used to be like, for me, I was like, oh, I'm going to, make this amount of wealth. Now it's like, how do I continue to sustain this level of living quality for me and my family in perpetuity, right? While also being fulfilled, right? I want to be able to provide for them forever, and then also be able to enjoy myself. Like, so I have a path for this, and I'm like, man, this is great, but what am I doing for me? Right. And then I'm like, oh, surfing. Right. So this is my refresher for this. This is fulfilling. I love what I do. But then also, like, sometimes you need to just sit on a surfboard in the ocean.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, and I
you
think
reminded me
go ahead.
of the Japanese philosophy called Ikigai, uh, which is really it's a great way to help people understand purpose. So Ikigai is a 4-circle Venn diagram. So if you start in the top left, it's something that you're good at. Okay. And then the next one over, going left to right at the top, something that you love to do. Okay. Because those are two different things, in case you didn't know. Sometimes they're the same thing, but those are two different things, like surfing.
Yeah.
Are you really good at it? But you
Correct.
love to do it. Right. And then the next one, come down to the bottom left corner, is something the world needs. Well, I hate to tell you this, but I don't think the world needs more surfers. But there might be some, butterfly effect that you're helping out the sea turtles by surfing. I don't know. But then the fourth circle is something people will pay you for. And where those four intersect, that little sliver there, that's your Ikigai. And what a cool place to be able to live in, your Ikigai. We should all strive for that.
Yeah.
Not all of us get to, but we should all strive for that. And it's a very interesting philosophy. And I think it helps people understand, have a better understanding of what purpose is and what purpose can be for you.
I think, it kind of actually adds to, what I was going to say there, because I think the interesting piece then is because the trap people fall into with that is it's like, okay, well, Otis, like, I only got 3 out of the 4. I can't figure my 4th out. I got 2 out of the 4. It's like I'm trying to put all these things together, and it becomes an excuse for inaction. Going back to what we were talking about in the first place, of like you have the responsibility of creating what your purpose is. But to your point, Cody, it's kind of hard to define it. Like it is a very elusive concept. And so what happens is if you get stuck in the planning process of trying to get some black and white answer of this is what my purpose is, this is the impact I will have, this is the time frame for it, you're never going to take action. You have to be comfortable with that little bit of uncertainty of I'm moving forward, this might not be right. I might wake up one day and hate rugby. Hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened yet. I still put way too much of my time into that sport. It's beautiful and I love it. But it's like I may wake up one day and go, God, I hate kids, hate rugby. I'm done with all this. Like it's like this is not my purpose. I was wrong. I thought I was right for so long, but it's like I need to make a change. That's okay. It doesn't mean that all these years are wasted because I was moving in the direction and then that allowed me to make that change. Those wrong steps, those missteps are the same things that allow you to make the right steps and make those right choices that later on. But it takes you taking those first initial steps, even if they're wrong, to get moving in the first place to find out if you're right or wrong. And I think that's where people just get so stuck of like trying to find that black and white answer and not being comfortable with a little bit of uncertainty that comes with it.
No, I mean, and it's like, it kind of mixes well with the saying, I like to say, good, bad, hard to tell. And the essence of that is you really can't determine what something's purpose is, in this sense, good or bad. I would have never thought that, when I started the Mexico staffing company because I needed nurses at my healthcare company, that one day my staffing company would be 3 times the size my healthcare company was, right? And I was never thought about that, right? And joke on the investors needed the day. So, right. So when I exited that company, I never thought telehelping would be anything. And then it's grown into something. So it's like as like you get into thing, you're like, wow, this activity, this was the purpose. This is the purpose. And then you're like, oh, telehelping, this is the purpose. And I asked myself, I'm like, is telehelping the purpose? Right? Is what it discovers a purpose through my business. And I think that if you're really good at entrepreneurship and you're doing it right, you're also discovering a little bit about yourself, right? Because your company is a mirror of you, right? How it develops and how it acts is in essence a reflection of how you behave and how you act. And so I think that if you listen closely to what you're doing, you're going to have a conversation with the outcomes. And that's going to help you define the purpose. You're like, okay, why am I doing this? Because if you're doing it for all the wrong reasons, it will tell you, right? Because you're probably not going to succeed at it, or it's probably not going to go the way you wanted it to.
But there's a huge pitfall there that I think is worth pointing out to folks, because I did something I went through, when I had my back injury, couldn't play rugby anymore. As far as I was concerned, that was my purpose. I was going to play pro
Yeah.
rugby. All I had ever thought about. I tell people I studied agricultural business because I wanted to own a farm when I retired from professional rugby. That was not an entrepreneurial decision I was making. But then after that, and going through the injury and going through some of Tribe and Purpose's coaching and going through that, I made this mistake, which now I think we help people to make sure they don't do this. But it was, I took that broken identity from I'm no longer a rugby player, what am I? And I said, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. And then I put my first business venture out there, put all my eggs in that basket, and that didn't work. And that didn't work. And I was right back where I was when I hurt my back. And so it's like understanding that the purpose, while it ties into your business, it is a separate thing at the same time. Everything I'm working on contributes towards that. That business might not make it, but the purpose is going to be the same. I'm going to find another way to fulfill my purpose, a way that fits into the market, a way that fits with current times, whatever it is. But you have to have that little bit of separation of like your purpose with your identity. Because I think that could be a really big trap. Because when that business blows up and people calling your baby ugly, ooh, that's a tough place to be in.
And it goes back to what Otis was saying about his former boss's companion, right? And talking about his colleague and saying he got out and he sat there and was like, "Whoa, man, I'm valuable. I got valuable." He's like, "Whew, I have nothing." Right. And I think that's where a lot of people find themselves. Like, I was there right after the military. How do you go from being something so great, right? And so fulfilled and purposeful? Famous general once said, he's like a Marine never has to wonder if he impacted the world, like he already knows, right? And how do you go from that to being like, you're just a college kid, right? You're just a guy who goes to college, just another guy from the Carolinas, right? You're no longer a Marine anymore. You're no longer a general anymore, right? You're running a business and it fails. You're no longer an entrepreneur. You're no longer a CEO anymore, right? You're a failure. you're just a guy.
Yeah.
And then you're right back where your back broke. And I failed a lot of businesses. I've had a lot of business ventures not make it. And like, you're sitting there like, dang, there goes all that money, right? There's all that time. And you're like, oh, what did I learn? Right. And that's kind of like that's where I land after if I do have any lick my wounds moments, I'm like, all right, well, that kind of sucks. Let's not do that again. And then you take a little while, you start stepping back, but you have to get back up. And so I'm interested to shift the gear slightly as well to Tribe and Purpose. What does, besides providing a tribe and a purpose, right? What does Tribe and Purpose do for its members? And what are its members? Like, talk to me a little bit about the structure and purpose of the business.
Yeah. Well, Camden already mentioned one line of our business. That's our DIY, the do it yourself. And that's primarily our YouTube channel, 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis, which is also the name of our podcast. But there's much more on our YouTube channel than just the podcast.
Like 100 hours of free leadership trainings in addition to the podcast.
In addition to the podcast, which is also a lot of entrepreneurship and leadership training. And then you also get my philosophy through the Whiskey Words, which is a whole nother aspect of how to approach life and talking about tough questions. So that's number one. And we always say that number one, because everybody can afford it. It's just taking the time and focusing your effort.
Goes back to what we were saying earlier. That's the thing that fills our purpose every single day and keeps us going and all that. All of this other stuff is real cool and we could go help all these big business. All that's great. But it's like at the end of the day, if we just keep doing the DIY, we're happy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then our Done With You is our Green Beret leadership program. And that is building a team of leaders in your business, which a team of leaders bring solutions. They solve problems on their own. They take charge of situations and they make you, the CEO founder, a better leader and get all that leadership gives you the competitive advantage over your competition. That's what it does, because now you're operating on full gear with high performers taking charge of situations and solving problems and fixing things and bringing you solutions. And then our third one is our Done With You, and that's our fractional COO. Our fractional COO is for that small business founder, CEO, to free them up to do what they do best. So our fractional CEOs come in and get that CEO founder out of the day-to-day operations, get them out doing what they do better than anybody else, which is sell the business, and establish, that's fractional COO, establishes the culture, processes, and systems to scale the business to the next level. And those are our 3 lines of effort. And I'll let you talk about steel men while I go on mute. Thank you very much. And call.
Yeah, and then we also have a men's group called the Steel Men Tribe that is focused on helping men to lead with empathy and conviction, bringing that masculine energy that I think especially us military folks and military brats understand as being very powerful, but then also recognizing that it's like, hey, we got to take care of people around us. We got to make sure we're making a positive impact and supporting each other along the way. And we can't do it all ourselves. I can speak as a member of the OG Steelman tribe. It's like it is a powerful place to be when you're around people who are really pushing themselves every single day to make an impact, not just in their business, but also with their families and trying to take care of the folks around them. And not an impact as like a bottom line, but a just real like, look, I want to help people, and this is the way I'm helping people. And it is a powerful place to be when you're around other folks like that inspire you to be better and to keep making that big impact and showing you that you can make that impact. I think is the other big piece of it also.
Wow. No, I love that. And, so much about what you do, I get to enjoy doing on a daily basis. Otis, talking about building leaders, right? And so I hate people who are dependent upon me. Like I want individual thinkers, people who own their own world, so that you can do the job that I hired you for. So, and yeah, I think that iron sharpens iron. I think that's a big thing about the Iron Men is like, you do need to surround yourself with people who are greater in some sense, right? But also realistic in others. And so being able to be around realness and genuineness is an ability to improve yourself in the process. The iron sharpen iron piece is a huge element. How would, I want to say this as we're winding towards the end here, how would someone want to get in contact with Tribe and Purpose? A great thing about this podcast is most of our viewers are, they're either they want to be entrepreneurs, right? They're dying somewhere in corporate America, or they're suffering through college right now. Or, there's occasional folks out there that are new entrepreneurs that are like, I'm in this, right? I'm doing this. And most of which are in the professional finance, accounting, or legal space. How would they reach out to you and, inquire more about Tribe and Purpose?
Best place is 10xyourteam.net. Real simple, 10xyourteam.net. On there, you can see all of the different programs that we talked about, all of our DIY stuff for the folks out there in college, just getting started out, don't have the budget for leadership development. Lots of great resources for you in there. And then it's set up real nice on the website. I do say so myself as the one who designed the website, but it's set up real nice of just DIY, done with you, done for you right there. And you can find the right program for you. Like we said earlier, we have all sorts of different leadership tools that can help people wherever they're at in business, whether you're a solopreneur who just needs to build that foundation of self-leadership, or you got a whole bunch of people and you need to figure out what the hell you guys are doing before you collapse under your own weight. We got options for all those different folks. So 10xyourteam.net, you can find all those different resources.
That's wonderful. Well, gentlemen, I liked the natural progression of things and the full circle that I had the ability to have you on once as an entrepreneur on your podcast talking about things, and now having you, gentlemen, as natural entrepreneurs yourself on my podcast based in entrepreneurship. So really cool kind of, 3 or 4 year later kind of thing there. Well, gentlemen, I thank you so much for giving me your time today. It's always wonderful to have a triplet thing going on here where we have so much input. And I think the dad and son thing is super awesome. Maybe one day I'll be able to have that myself. So, other than, Camden, sorry for you having to have a Green Beret dad. That could have been easy. I like to thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to staying connected, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us, Cody.
Yeah, thank you, Cody. And we'll have you on the show. It will not be 4 years out. We'll have you sometime sooner than that, all right?
Yes. Well, if it's 4 years, I hope I'm around, but take care, gentlemen.
This video was brought to you by our official sponsor, Telehelping. Need support for your business? Telehelping connects you with top-tier remote staff to help you streamline operations and fuel growth. Go to telehelping.com and get started today.